What would cause Ayesha Erotica in the height of her career to completely vanish from the music industry, deleting every piece of work she had? Hello guys, it's Dante, coming back from the dead with another video for you guys. So yeah, it's lame. Today's video I debated making for like a lot of reasons, which is kind of why you haven't seen me post a lot sooner. I posted in my like community section saying like this video was coming, and I wasn't lying because it's here right now. But I was kind of like really on the fence about making it, and that's kind of why I posted that like a couple weeks ago and like no video ever came. And the reason why is because Ayesha Erotica, who this video is about, you saw the title, is a very controversial figure. So I was kind of hesitant to make a video on her, but I personally find her story like crazy interesting, and I always want to make videos on my channel that are interesting, not only to like what I think you guys would like, but what I find interesting. And so that's where today's video is coming from. So today we'll be looking at the career and life of Ayesha Erotica, aka Ayesha Nicole Smith, aka Ayesha Erotica. So a preface to this video super quickly. Since Ayesha Erotica's career consisted mainly on the internet, she didn't really do interviews, she didn't really talk to her fans all that much. It's kind of hard to know a lot about her personal life, which is why I don't really talk about that in this video. A quick other side note is that a lot of information on Ayesha is kind of unknown. So even some of the things that I'm saying in this video, although I did try to fact check them on multiple sources, I totally might be like mistaken. So everything in this video, I just want you to know, I did my best to research, but this person's really hard to find information about. I mean, I found her like 2 or 3 years ago, and this is kind of just like an accumulation of everything I found out. So I just want to like preface this video. If anything is wrong, please feel free to like let me know down in the comments below. So yeah, the lore behind this girl is freaking insane, and I hope you guys find her as interesting as I do. But yeah, let's get into the crazy roller coaster of Ayesha Erotica. Ayesha Erotica was born August 11th in 1996, and at the time of her career lived in Huntington Beach, which is in California. Huntington Beach has also birthed, that's not right, Jeffree Star, which I think is actually really interesting because they kind of have a lot of similarities, and not just their personalities, but also their music, which I think is just interesting they came from the same place. So I wonder like what's in Huntington Beach that's like breeding this type of like musical like creativity. So Ayesha Erotica is best known for being a music producer, a singer, a songwriter, a lyricist, as well as a rapper. Ayesha has kind of done it all in her music. If you haven't heard her music before, I definitely think you should give it a listen before like watching this video, because it would kind of give like more context. Definitely go give her music a listen and then maybe come back here and finish out the video. So as I said earlier, Ayesha kind of does it all when it comes to her music. She kind of starts at point A, making her own beats, then adding her lyrics, then producing the music, and then like mixing and mastering, and then all the way to upload. Like she kind of does the entire process of creating a song, which I think is really cool, that like what you're seeing and what you're hearing is really completely curated by her. And I think that's what gave her sound such a specific sonic recognition. It's what gave her music like a lot of personality, and you really felt like when you were listening to an Ayesha Erotica song that it was coming from her lips to your ears. So Ayesha Erotica, although her name does sound like a porn star's, she is not, but her music is very explicit, as you could tell. It has a lot of mentions of like sex and like drugs and alcohol, and doing drugs while having sex on alcohol, in clubs with a lot of money. And like you can kind of get the image of who I'm discussing. She kind of encapsulated the image of like a drugged out party girl from the mid 2000s. And that's the first point I want to make really quickly, is Ayesha Erotica created an image along with her music. She created this entire persona, which was very based on like the party girls of the 2000s, like Britney Spears, Paris Hilton, Heidi Montag, Lindsay Lohan. The list just keeps going. Think like that era. Think like Jersey Shore, honestly, but a little less trashy. She was kind of classy. She kind of was the encapsulation of the 2000s it girl that everyone was kind of trying to be. She was really mean, but she kind of was like your older sister in a weird way. And that's kind of, I think, the persona that a lot of people gravitated towards. And she would create this not only with like her music and her lyrics, but also her personality when she would go on Instagram Live and kind of talk about like her life to the fans. But I don't think she talked about her real life. She kind of was like making like little like sound bites almost to portray this image to her fans. So Ayesha Erotica has kind of been known for making like PC synthetic music, and what synthetic basically just means is that like she's not really using real instruments. It's more like synth beats and synthesized sounds, so they kind of sound almost like they sound not real. And that kind of goes also with her vocals, which are very auto-tuned, but kind of like where it works, like a T-Pain sort of vibe, if you know what I'm talking about. But the genre that she kind of is best known for and kind of talks about in some of her own music as well is Electroclash. So Electroclash is a genre, according to Wikipedia, that is based in 1980s electro synth pop. Think kind of like Pete Burns and like Spin Me Round, Never Marry an Icon, different songs like that, where the voice was very synthesized. It was like fun, like 80s dance music, but also mixed with like the electro, like almost EDM, but not really EDM kind of sound. The Electroclash genre was super popular between the 1980s is when it kind of started, going into like the 2010s, but kind of tapering off like 2010. And a lot of artists would kind of use the Electroclash genre when they were doing like club beats. It was very heavy in like the club and party scene. So now that you have a little bit of background on like Ayesha Erotica's music and like kind of the persona she created, let's talk a little bit about like her actual career. So a lot of this is going to be just kind of like talking about her albums and different things that came out. So let's dive right into this. So Ayesha Erotica started publishing her own songs in 2015 at the age of 19. She would publish them on stuff like SoundCloud and Bandcamp, which if you don't know what those are basically like free platforms that you're allowed to like post your music on. Kind of this is where a lot of young artists, like rappers specifically, you probably heard the term like SoundCloud rappers. It's kind of a dig, but it is a really good place for artists to kind of like start getting their music out there because it is free, and so they will start garnering an audience through that. So the first two songs that Ayesha Erotica put out were Can I Get a Bump, which is obviously a reference to drugs, and That's Hot, which was a reference to Paris Hilton's like famous catchphrase, That's Hot. During 2016, so about a year after she published her first two songs, Ayesha Erotica continued to put out music, releasing her first album entitled Big Juicy with songs like 16, Big Juicy, and Emo Boy. And we're gonna get a little ahead of ourselves, but you know the song Emo Boy. I know you know the song Emo Boy. That is the one on TikTok that you hear everyone using. And yeah, that was from her in 2016. So next time you hear that song, think of Ayesha Erotica. Although these songs didn't like completely blow up into the mainstream, I mean, they were posted on like SoundCloud and Bandcamp. She wasn't really trying to get like mainstream recognition by putting it on like iTunes or SoundCloud. She still did kind of garner a little cult following because they really, like I said before, I can't keep talking about it, but like her persona was really what got people fascinated by her and what really got her a lot of attention, honestly. So this persona mixed with her lyrics really started to build this cult audience that would really follow her and kind of do like anything for her. So people really like loved her sound and gravitated towards it. It kind of had a very nostalgic feeling since she was kind of pulling inspiration from like mid 2000s songs. And she would also kind of do some covers to like Pete Burns music. So there was also that 1980s nostalgia that was kind of like coming back. So a lot of people liked her because it kind of reminded them of something else, like a better time. Her music kind of made them feel like, oh my god, like when I was a kid, this was all poppin'. So during the release of her music, Ayesha would also post onto platforms like MySpace, Instagram, and Twitter, where she would discuss releasing music. She would like kind of play snippets for people to get them like interested. A lot of artists do that actually. They like play snippets on their story and stuff to like entice people and like get them excited for new music that would be coming out later. And Ayesha was no different. I mean, she was just like a musical girly at the time. She was just like a pop artist, you know, making music. Her second album, I think also released in 2016, was entitled Barely Legal. And personally, this is actually the first album I ever heard of Ayesha. The first song I actually ever heard of Ayesha was Hollywood Dream, which is a really big one of hers. I didn't know that at the time when I like first found her, but that was a really big one. And that was, I think, the most successful one off this album because a lot of my friends will actually know that song and have no idea who Ayesha is. So I think what made this album super successful is she kind of did a lot of storytelling in her music. Not only did she have really sexual songs like Hardcore ANAL Banging, she also had songs like Hollywood Dream that kind of portrayed the narrative of like a young starlet going to Hollywood and doing whatever she has to do to get that recognition and become a star. And that was kind of like, in my opinion, the perfect encapsulament of who Ayesha was. She was this young girl who was just trying to make it in Hollywood, literally doing whatever she had to do. Sexual favors, drugs, partying, all of the above to get her name out there. And I wrote down in my notes, like every single song really like carried the arc of like this storyline. And I also think what made Ayesha really interesting is that her persona kind of existed in multiple platforms. So you would go to her SoundCloud or Bandcamp and you would listen to her music and you're like, oh, she's like really talented singer or whatever. And then you go to her Instagram and you would see like all these pictures like, oh, she like can, you know, do a photo shoot. And like you can see that she was very engaged in like the 2000s world that she was trying to kind of emulate. And if you look back at all of her pictures, you can kind of see that they look like they were ripped straight out of like a 2000s tabloid. Like it really does feel like she is shooting these on like an iPhone 3G. Like the quality, the graininess, like the composition, the exposure, like she was able to just like nail this. Like not only did she have a sound from the 2000s, but she looked like she was freaking right from like 2006. She looked like she was Paris Hilton partying. Like that's kind of crazy that she was able to do that all in like the late 2010s. So back to her music career, Ayesha had also begun working on her next, I think it was an album or project, her next project, which was entitled Fresh Meat. And she released the title track of Fresh Meat in 2016. A little after the song was released, Literal Legend was also released from this album. I think it was supposed to be on the Fresh Meat album, but she was kind of like, you know how artists will like release singles from their album as like time goes on to like get hype. That was another single that was from that album. And it was called Literal Legend. And you know this song. You know this song. I don't know if I'm allowed to play it, but you know this song. And actually, weird enough, they played it at the AMAs this year. Or the VMAs. MTV? I don't know. They posted it on one like huge platform. I think it was the MTV award show. It was one of them, but they played the song. And that's crazy. Like, she was like, pushed the song on like SoundCloud. And then like 8 years later, they're playing it on like TV. Like, that's kind of crazy. Anyways, this song was a mass success. I think at the time it was probably also a really big success, but just like now it's completely blown up thanks to TikTok. No one was making music like her. If you hear her music, it was just completely out of this world. It sounded completely different than anything that anyone could like imagine. Like it was just not something that people were doing, and it made her really unique and set her apart from anyone else that was doing music in her like lane. Along with this song, a video was released for Literal Legend on I think YouTube. And in the description box was a date, and that date was October 25th, 2017, and that was supposed to be the release of this album. However, that date came, and no album was ever released for Fresh Meat. Instead, a month later, an EP was released called www.fuckme.com, including 4 songs titled Nasty, Bitch Track, For the Girls Too, and Eat It. So jumping into 2018, Ayesha confirmed that her next album was in the works, and it was entitled Horny4.u, which I think is like a really cute like, album name. And also, the little dot is cute. It's like her whole thing was like an internet slut. And she portrayed that in every aspect that she could with the visuals, the sound, even the titles of her songs. Like everything really gave that image. And so she confirmed this on her Instagram story, where she actually confirmed a lot of her music, and she posted the back cover including the track list. The album was also going to release on iTunes, which is kind of a big deal because she didn't really release her music on iTunes. She kind of kept it all on like SoundCloud and Bandcamp, but I think at this time like her fan base was really growing, and a lot of people wanted to have her music on like their iPod, like on the music app or like the Spotify app, and so she was listening and she was gonna put it on all of these platforms in 2018. Around this time, Ayesha started to also start doing collabs with other people. Instead of just like doing her own music like with herself, she started to kind of branch out and find more people in the industry that she wanted to work with. A really interesting story that I actually found out like a year ago is that the song BFF by Slater, she's kind of a similar artist to Ayesha, like a little bit similar. They kind of have like similar sounds, and like they do the whole like 2000s pop star thing. But basically what happened is that the song BFF was actually written by Ayesha. Like the whole beat was produced by her, and Ayesha posted her version like with her verse in it, and there was like kind of like blank space. And Slater heard it and was like, I know I can write a verse for this. And so she wrote a verse, and I think she sent it back to Ayesha and was like, hey, can I buy this off you and like post this? And Ayesha's like, yeah. So I think the rumor was like she sold the beat for $125, like $125. And yeah, that's how we have the song BFF by Slater. So in August 2018, so this is kind of a couple months after Horny For You was supposed to be released. I can't believe I just said that sentence on YouTube, but I did. Ayesha actually revealed 5 confirmed songs off the album, but then immediately went silent on all of her platforms. After some silence, fans were getting a little confused because she was supposed to release this Horny For You album, and a lot of people were like expecting it to come out, and they kind of never heard anything about it. And I would like to stress here, Ayesha's fan base is like kind of insane, and I mean that in like the nicest way possible. And me even saying that right now might get them. Actually, they probably are gonna like that. Honestly, they probably would like that. But their fan base is kind of like rabid, low key. And I mean, I was kind of one of her fans for a while, so I was like in the mix of it. And they're kind of crazy. I'm not gonna lie. So a lot of people like are really into Ayesha Erotica and the persona she created. So a lot of people were like concerned, like, where'd she go? Like, I need this music. Like, I need it. But eventually, Ayesha did return to social media, announcing that this would be her final album, which is kind of wild because Ayesha had been pumping out so much music. At one point on Spotify, like a year ago, somebody had made a complete Spotify like playlist of all of her music, and there was like 300 songs. And I looked it up for like reference. Someone like Beyonce only has about 176 songs, and Ayesha had about 300. So think about this. Ayesha's been in the game for like 3-4 years and has made that many songs, including like features that she's been on. And Beyonce's been in the game for like 22 years. So like 23 actually, but you know what I mean? Like, she's been making music for so much longer. So the fact that Ayesha in like a fourth of the time span was able to make double the music just shows like it was really odd that she was going to stop making music. Like, that just seemed like something that wasn't gonna ever happen. So people were quite shocked about this. And the reason for this was even more crazy. The reason why she was going to stop making music. And the reason she said she was going to stop making music is because she had become increasingly uncomfortable with the large fan base that she had kind of received. And some would call aggressive and like rabid fans. Some may say that. But another huge reason that Ayesha was going to leave the music industry was because of this scandal that I'm going to talk about right now. And this is the Doxxing scandal, which had a huge impact, I think, on like Ayesha deciding to leave the music industry or like announcing her departure. So everything in this is kind of speculated. I want to say, like, I wasn't around during this 2018 time, but it has been kind of confirmed by a lot of different fans of her that this like did in fact happen. It was like it had a huge impact on her. So just keep in mind, everything I'm saying is kind of like speculated, not speculated, but like there is a lot of fact about it, but I'm a little less sure about how this all went down. So just, there was a doxing, but I'm not so sure about all the details. So this is what I've gathered. In 2018, Ayesha Erotica had been the victim of doxing. You guys don't know what doxing is? It's basically when people's public information is released. So like think phone numbers, addresses, people's names and their family. It's a big deal on the internet, and it's a huge no-no to do to another person on the internet. Ayesha Erotica had been a victim of doxing. Some people say that it was a list of all of her private social media accounts, and some people say that it was addresses of her friends and herself. And so Ayesha Erotica was quite shaken up by this, but she didn't like to be stepped on. So she actually doxed who she believed was the person who doxed her, and his name was Quinn Fatale. She believed that he doxed her, and so because of this, she doxed him and like all of his family and friends, which I'm not defending. That's a pretty fucked up thing to do, but she did believe that like he did it, so it kind of is like, that was like in her opinion, that was like an equal retaliation kind of. But Quinn Fatale was not the original doxer, and he actually got a lot of hate because people thought he did it, but he was like, no, I didn't do this, and he was pissed off now too. So in a response, he actually doxed her again, and like released even more information. But the biggest thing that I've gathered that like actually kind of like made her career take a hit was he released several demos that Ayesha Erotica had written for this black artist called Miss Prada. And in these demos, because if you guys don't know, Ayesha like produced music on the side for other people, and so she would produce music for Miss Prada, and so a lot of artists will create like a demo of what she wants the song to sound like. But because she was creating music for black artists, a lot of these songs have the N-word in them, and in these demos, she was saying the N-word. This is her biggest controversy, is these demos that were leaked of her saying the N-word. So in these demos, a lot of racist things were said, and also she did say the N-word in some of these demos. So that's why there's a lot of like hesitancy to like appreciate this person as a person, kind of. And you know, it's hard. It begs the question of like, when can you separate the artist from the music? Because if you listen to just like all of her other music, it's kind of just like dumb songs like about dumb like sexualized things, and it's like fun, but like it's hard to ignore the other things that she did. And so when I kind of found out that information, like about these demos, it really made me look at her in a very different light. And it was hard to like, I don't want to say support someone, but it was kind of hard to listen to someone who had like said these awful, horrible things. So this, as you can imagine, caused her to get like mass amounts of hate. A lot of people were like mad that she had like been saying these things. And although some fans like just straight up didn't care, and they actually denied it, which I thought was weird. They were like, oh, this like clearly isn't her. Like somebody like is trying to like make her look bad. Like Quinn's trying to make her look bad. But it's like, girl, like those are her demos. Like she made that music. So it's like, and I think for her, seeing the tidal wave of hate kind of switch, and also seeing her fans in like brawls against each other, not like physical, like World Star, but like on internet brawls, it kind of made people a little like hesitant. It made her, I think, a little hesitant to keep making music. And she got scared because I think for the first time, this online persona that she had created was starting to like creep into her real life and like who Ayesha really is. And she didn't like that. So back to what I was saying about, that's kind of like the doxing scandal that happened. Anyway, so back to what I was saying now. So this was kind of one of the things that made her really uncomfortable. And I think this is what honestly pushed her to like want to stop making music. But this is when she announced that she was going to stop making music. I think another reason also was that people kind of took this party image of Ayesha really far. They assumed that everything she said in these songs were things she wants to do. So like she portrays herself as like a mega hoe in these songs, but like maybe in real life she's a little more tame. But like she was creating this like party girl persona, and people couldn't differentiate that there's like a person behind the persona. They would just assume like, oh no, she is exactly what she's saying online. In late 2018, Ayesha Erotica created a Instagram post where the caption basically said that she was going into complete retirement from the music industry and that she would no longer be creating music under the Ayesha Erotica name. So obviously, based on this Instagram story, you got the vibe like she's done. Like she said, I'm deucing. I think she was really fed up with people using her face as like their profile picture and kind of using her name. She thought it was really weird that people like wanted to be her, and she didn't understand people like were looking up to her, which I think is fair. I think if you're any like artist, especially for the content she was creating, it was very like sexualized. I don't think she wanted like young fans to like view her as like an idol. But then it does beg the question of like, well, you made the music in the first place. But that's just my opinion on the topic. But I think she was kind of like over it at this point, and that's fair. I mean, people were like doxing her, so like I get why she was totally out. So kind of now we're going to talk about like her retirement and like what she's been up to since then. So after leaving the public eye, most of Ayesha's music was deleted from streaming platforms, remaining only on her SoundCloud and like Bandcamp accounts, until eventually a little bit after that, everything was taken down completely. So she had no music out anymore at all. I think she was really trying to like push this past her, which I'm like curious about why. I know like it was probably because of like the doxing stuff, but at the same time, it's like, part of me is like, you're making so much money. Maybe, I mean, presumably. She's getting a lot of like notoriety. So my question is like, I wonder if she was like trying to get like a normal job or something. Or like maybe people were like not taking her seriously because of like this music and like the persona that she had created. But I'm just like interested to like know behind the scenes of like what was going on. But I don't think we'll ever know that. So yeah. So all of her other social media accounts vanished, like her Tumblr, her Twitter. Actually, I heard her Tumblr was active until like recently, which is weird. But her Twitter was gone. A lot of other platforms like SoundCloud, like it was just things were disappearing, and the only thing that really remained was her Instagram account. Sorry, that was unrelated. But basically, like a lot of music collaborators that presumably she still works with, because it's like theorized that she like still produces like a lot of albums for like people that were kind of like in her genre of music. She still follows them, so there are rumors that she's like still active on this account even to this day, but it's kind of like unconfirmed because she's private on everything. But yeah, so during the beginning of her retirement, like late 2018, early 2019, a lot of the features that she did talk about did end up getting released, such as BFF with Slater, Dial Tone by That Kid and Slater, Rockstar with Matu, as well as a couple other artists were like releasing music that they had been working on with Ayesha. And so like I said before, she's kind of been working behind the scenes for similar artists like Slater on Slater's self-entitled album, Slater. As well as That Kid's two most recent albums. She also worked on people claim like Chase Icon's album and Serena Smith, which I can see. A lot of Serena Smith's most recent music has like actually kind of had like a similar sound to Ayesha, so I think that they do work together and create music. But these are all speculation. It's highly speculated, but it's still like speculation. So like take everything with like a grain of salt. Like no one's confirmed any of this. So in July of 2019, Ayesha Erotica attended a concert with her friends PD Plastic and That Kid. And pictures of the three of them together were posted online. And this sparked like massive rumors. She has been silent for pretty much like since December. So like 7 months later, there's like pictures of her going up online. And so a lot of people were hoping like, oh my God, she's making a comeback. But she immediately like stomped these out and went on her Instagram story, and she posted this story basically saying like, no, I'm not coming back, and like stop talking about me, basically was her thing. But yeah, so that's kind of what she posted in her story, kind of like squashing out rumors. And that's pretty much it. No one has actually heard of Ayesha or heard from her since then. No one's like recognized her as far as I know on the streets. I think she probably is like shut in her house. I think she's a little afraid to go out. I don't know, but she's, completely disappeared from the public image, which is what she wanted. So I think that's good for her. But it's actually kind of weird. Ayesha Erotica's career has taken quite a massive turn since like 2020, 2021. Thanks to TikTok mainly. A lot of her songs like Vacation Bible School, Literal Legend, Nasty, Hollywood Dream have all been like major TikTok sounds being used by like Charli D'Amelio. Like I said, it was played at the VMAs, like a big award show. Like her music, ever since she left, has been like blowing up. And I remember at the height of her music on Spotify, which if you guys don't know, a lot of people illegally put her music up. But like a lot of people didn't know that at the time. I didn't know that at the time. And so people would like listen to her music thinking it was like her having it up, but it's not. It's like other people that upload under her name, which is like a whole issue on Spotify. Her music gets taken down like once a year. Basically, at the height of her Spotify, I remember seeing she had 1.7 million monthly listeners, which is crazy considering she hasn't made music since 2018, really. And people are still so interested in her music. And it's really thanks to TikTok. And I think also like the dead artist effect of just like her music hasn't been, she hasn't made music in years. And people like kind of entranced by the fact that like she's still out there like and could be like seeing all this growth and like seeing everything, but like she's not even coming back. So it's like crazy. And I think that that's what a lot of the lure to people is like she's still out there somewhere, probably alive, probably, but she's still like out there doing her thing. Not making music though, well, making like her own music, but it's just like crazy that she's like living her life and no one knows who she is or where she is. It's like this huge mysterious energy to her. That is the story of Ayesha Erotica. I hope that wasn't super confusing. Like listening to myself film this has been like whack. I feel like I sound crazy, but this is the story of Ayesha. This is like all that I know about her music career, like kind of like the scandals that she's gotten into. And although Ayesha is one of my favorite artists, like I just really gravitate towards her music, I do still have qualms listening to her and like supporting her, because like she did say some like really awful things, and so like how can you really support someone like that? But her music is quite interesting, and no one does what she does, which makes her so fascinating to like listen to and even like learn about. And that's why like I did end up making this video. So yeah, that's really all I have on Ayesha Erotica. A little side note, guys, please respect Ayesha's privacy in the sense of like please don't reach out to her. But yeah, that's all I have on Ayesha Erotica. I hope you found this video as interesting as I did. Please give me a thumbs up if you guys like this type of video. I want to know like what my audience thinks, or like leave a comment or something, because I do like doing like internet videos. I'm a really big internet child, obviously. I'm talking to myself for like an hour and a half, but I really am like a loner and I need things to do. So give me different internet people that you're interested in. I really find myself fascinated by the whole world of the internet, like the culture, and I just think it's really interesting. So yeah, please follow my Instagram and Twitter because I want people to call me pretty in the comments. And also I think it's really fun when people look at me, because I like to look at me. So yeah, you should follow my Twitter though, because I'm a lot more fun there. I'm kind of unhinged. If you follow me if you guys want to, and if you don't, you should still follow me because I'm really fun always. Duh. Okay, but yeah, guys, I love everyone so much. Thank you for everything. I love all your comments, and I love talking to you guys. So please, I hope this video was really interesting. It took a lot of work to make because it's long as fuck, and I'm gonna have to put a lot of pictures and videos in here. So I hope you enjoy the content. Bye, guys.